Hey everybody, it's Mace1370. Today we are going to debut and showcase the new RGB hero Mort. Before we get into that though, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, please check the video description below for a link to my Discord. Okay, so here's Mort. I have put some mola into him, so he's plus 10. I kind of just got the initial, skill cooldown here, as much of the effect chance as I could, and the effect chance on his S1 for the defense break, but he's missing a lot of the more expensive, mola investments. So even though he's plus 10, I think there's only like 11 mola into him or something like that, maybe 12. He has one imprint, you can see down here. So Mort is a knight. Just to go over his skills briefly, he has an AoE ability, which can inflict injury. He's the first hero to do that. He is HP scaling, and he also has this passive which can proc, if he uses a critical hit. The passive can proc, and that can then give him a buff which increases his speed and gives everyone crit resistance for one turn. And then just at baseline he's always immune to stun and sleep. And then his S1 has a 50% chance to decrease defense for 2 turns. That's like huge. This is probably the best part of his kit. And then if he is enraged, which is a buff he gets, it's a buff he gets when he uses his S3, this defense break ignores effect resistance, which is interesting. And on the one hand, that seems like it could be a very powerful part of his kit, but just playing around with him, I'm not sure how much of like a tank buster he is as a tank himself. We'll get into that. So here's his imprint. The crit chance one. I decided to get one just since that's such a powerful imprint. Regret my investment a little bit just because he doesn't seem like he is as strong as people were hoping he would be. Here are his stats. I have him on what I consider to be very good gear. It's not best in the world or anything, but all of this stuff is solid stat-wise. The neck is, as usual, the weakest piece because I am incapable of crafting a decent neck. I wanted him with some amount of speed because his passive here, the Sacred Blessing, this can only be activated once every 2 turns. So he needs to turn cycle to be able to do this as much as possible. I thought 200 speed was a good amount since he does give himself speed buff, I think, over here. So that'll increase his speed by 30%, which is pretty huge. So he'll be at like 260 plus, when he has that buff. That'll help him turn cycle and be able to use his Sacred Blessing more often. Then he's HP scaling, so I put a good amount into HP, and I wanted some amount of defense just so he wasn't super squishy. You could, if you had the right gear, maybe shift some defense into more HP just to get more damage. I think that'd be reasonable. But I like having some defense on my heroes. And then you want as close to 100% crit chance as you can get. I have him at 97 here. I'm not really stressed about getting him more. At some point I'll get another imprint for him if I continue using him, which is kind of plus minus at this point. And then crit damage, I just wanted a bunch of that for damage sake, so he's at 283. So this is a bruiser Mort. I don't know if it would be worth building a super tanky, super fast one. It's kind of, I've thought about it. I don't know, I'm not so sure. Maybe if you wanted to use him more in the tank buster role, that would be better. You could give him an Aureus and then make him super tanky and super fast. And then, use his S3, and then just when he takes his own turn, you can defense break like a Ruel or something. Could be good. Another potential way of using him. I think he is good on speed, though. I know some people have talked about building him on counter. Obviously, we need to test more with that to be sure, but I feel like the fact that Sacred Blessing can only be activated once every other turn means that if you have counter set, you're basically just giving up Sacred Blessing. The last note here, there's been a little bit of kerfluffle when it comes to injury. If the team is immune, it seems like, just from what I've observed, he does inflict the injury, but if they have a barrier and he doesn't break his way through the barrier, they don't get the injury. And I need to double check, but Skill Null might prevent it as well. And if that's the case, I don't know, it just feels just bad for no reason. This isn't a powerful, super strong effect that's going to cripple the enemy team when it happens. So having little things like barriers and Skill Null prevent it from happening just feels kind of like making something that's not that great even worse, essentially. And I think it is kind of a feels bad, especially since you want to use his skill 3 on his first turn and a good amount of the time the enemy team has FCC barriers or something up, and he just doesn't really have the damage to really bust through those super well. So I'm a little mixed on that part of the kit. Anyways, I've prepared a couple matches for you guys to see how he performs. The long story short is not super well. He, I think, fits well in a team where there are other high-value targets, since, you know, Elbrus is what I think is best in slot for him. It helps, you know, proc his passive here. So my first thought was I'll put him in a team with, you know, aggressive heroes that have, you know, high damage and are going to be high priority kill targets, and that way the enemy team will focus them. That can, you know, give him an opportunity to proc Elbrus and potentially death break the enemy team, in which case my high damage team can really take advantage of that and go for the kill. The other way I thought of using him was in the standard Ruel and Friends comp, where, you know, you pick like 4 knights in Ruel. I think that might be his best spot. We'll go over that in the end. So go ahead and we can go through these matches and enjoy. Here's round 1. I go ahead and I pre-ban Spectre Tenebria because she has the ability to damage your units without them being able to counter back, and since I plan on taking Mort here, I don't want to give my opponent that option. I have first pick, and I take Falconer Clury. She's going to be able to allow me to defense break and is a really strong opener. And I think just a generically good first pick. I'm still kind of trying to figure out who I want to pair with Mort at this point. And in this game I wanted to test kind of high value DPS units, which pair well with Falconer Clury. I also didn't want to take Mort first since I feel like that would just be a bad idea. The opponent takes Remnant Violet, I think to prevent me from getting him, and then Blue Crow. I decided to take Emma Luluka here, not because I think it's a particularly great idea, but she's a fast DPS that could pair with Flurry, so if I get both of them and I take turn 1, then I could potentially just delete a target right off the bat. And then I take Ruel because Emma Lulu is very squishy and is probably just going to die. The opponent takes Assassin Sid, so if I let him through, he's going to get turn 1 pretty much for sure, and then also takes Adventurer Ras, which is an interesting draft. Usually see Acid against Cleave and stuff, but I suppose he is a decent option to prevent, you know, a Clury from taking turn 1. I take Little Queen Charlotte. She offers a little bit of mitigation here, and then also the opponent has 2 dark units, so her S3 will be good in this case. And then I take Mort. My thought process here is, you know, Ruel is a high-value target, Flurry is a high-value target, and so is Emma Lulu. Little Queen Charlotte may not be, just because she has the Durandal effect on her passive, but that's a bunch of units that my opponent will be incentivized to attack. I ban the Ravi just because I'm afraid that she will just be way too much damage for me to handle. And also she's fire and Mort is grass. And I didn't want him to just get deleted for testing purposes. So again, Emma Lulu may not have been the best pick here. Maybe I should have just banned the Assassin Sid, but she gets deleted. It's okay I brought Ruel though. And the opponent goes into Mort right away, stripping off his immunity. And then using Blue Crow to successfully push back Green Mort. I go ahead and I res my Emma Lulu here.
I swear, a miracle will occur.
And when this happened, I was really confused why she didn't take a turn, because she was at the start of the CR bar, and then I just remembered, oh, because Assassin Sid probably pushed her back on his skill 3. So I just decided to YOLO Little Queen Charlotte's skill 3 into Assassin Sid, and I get lucky, don't hit evasion, and just delete him entirely, and get the splash damage. So now Rylet is going to be my main concern. I used the skill 3 on Mort, so you can see that's the injury there, and it's really not very impressive. This team can't heal anyways, so it's kind of irrelevant. So he gets the defense break on Little Queen Charlotte, and then the Rylet hits into that. So that is a lot of damage on her. I'm kind of surprised she's at as much HP as she is.
Let's do this.
I'm trying to decide what to do with my skill 3. I don't want to just go into the Rylet, since if I get evaded it's just going to be wasted. So I decide to go into the Ras. and try to get rid of him. This is going to be hard for me though, because Crow can delete Little Queen Charlotte here now. And I was hoping he wouldn't do it, but he does. Because I've already used my res bringing Lulu back. So there you can see Mort gets the Elbrus defense break into the Crow. But Crow put defense buff on everyone, so it's somewhat negated by the defense buff here. Well, I guess it's entirely negated by it. Rylet puts hit down on Mort. And so this is something that I've noticed is a problem with him. You know, he is immune to stun and sleep, but he is not immune to speed down and hit down. And those are pretty crippling debuffs that pretty much, you know, neuter his damage potential. So if you were thinking about using him as a unit against CC comps, he may not work out as well as you're hoping. In that case, pairing him with a Tywin might be good, just because the stun or sleep will not land on Mort, and then the thing that gets cleansed will probably be like the hit down or something. So it's just one less debuff that can be put on him. But by himself, he's not going to be like Champion Zerato or anything like that. So because the Crow has the defense break there, I just go into him and try to finish him off. I do want to kill him before his skill 3 comes back again. You can see Mort's skill 1 is hitting for like 3k, which is not super impressive. It's possible the Crow has a lot of defense, you know, he is a tank, but still. So Emma Lulu here is able to survive one hit from Remnant Violet, but not the second one, so goodbye Emma Lulu. I think I might have needed to save my res here for LQC rather than Lulu. I don't know. It's hard, you know, being down a unit right off the bat. I was definitely anticipating her taking a turn when I res though, and then being able to see her push my team. So I was a little taken aback by, you know, that mistake on my part. Rylet uses his S3 here into Ruel, and that is a lot of damage.
This won't be an easy fight.
So Ruel gets deleted, and this match does not go in my favor. So overall, I felt like Mort didn't really do anything here. You can see him using his skill 3 again. Overall, his damage was just too low to be a significant threat this fight.
Means nothing.
In this fight, I wanted to test Mort with Ruel and friends. I felt like he could potentially be a decent addition to that team setup, where you essentially take 4 very tanky units in Ruel, and each of the tanky units offers something different to the team. You know, you have one Aureus holder, an Adamant holder, something like Lilius who can cleanse, you know, CR pushback. Oftentimes a Tywin comes along for the ride to prevent them from getting souls and to, you know, slow and stun them. And you just really kind of abuse the fact that they're not doing much damage to you, and then you slowly grind them down. Heroes like Blue Crow and Last Rider Crow are really important for this team because you need a way to actually kill the opponent, and those are knights who have kill conditions. So the opponent took Flurry here, and I was a little hesitant to do it this match just because Flurry is a good counter pick against Ruel and friends. The fact that she can, you know, provoke and death break Ruel and just delete her from the game can be very difficult for this comp to deal with. And drafting into a must-ban, you know, turn 1 unit can be a little tricky sometimes. Can set you up for failure. I take Blue Crow here because of the aforementioned kill condition, and then also Last Rider Crow for the same reason. The opponent has pre-banned ML Tywin, which is a hero I would potentially take in this situation. So that's also unfortunate. They take Basar, so that's going to be hard to deal with. ML Tywin would be a decent answer to him since he would cleanse away the unbuffable. Assuming, you know, that there weren't a lot of other debuffs on the enemy team. Another option I have for Basar would be Lilius, so that is a knight I could take in this situation. She's holding Adamant Shield right now, so she would be a good pick in this situation. My Blue Crow has Aureus, so now I have assembled the Adamant Aureus combo. Last Rider Crow is on Portrait for more damage. I go ahead and take Ruel here. I want to take Mort last pick, and I'm hoping the opponent will not take, 2 units that are very strong against him. The RB could definitely be problematic. That is a lot of damage. I feel like at this point I still need to ban the Flurry, though. Because that Provoke and Death Break, especially if he uses it on Ruel, is just going to be too much for me to be able to handle. He takes Emeluluka. I don't know if he thought I might take it and he just wanted to counterpick. She can be very strong if the opponent does not have a lot of damage, because she cycles really fast and does a lot of damage herself. And the Dignus Orb barrier significantly prolongs her survivability. So after thinking for a while, the opponent takes Tempest Surin. I don't know if Tempest Surin is the best pick here. She takes multiple hits to kill, and I guess the stealth is annoying. If she's lifesteal, that could be very problematic for me. I do have Lilius, and Lilius can hit Tempest Surin, with multiple attacks with her S1. So I'm afraid the opponent is going to ban Lilius here. I take Mort. Mort also has Elbrus, so he can kind of get bonus hits in on Tempest Surin as well. I really have to ban the Flurry here. It puts me in a tricky spot. I think the Lilius is the best ban my opponent could make. And instead they ban Crow, Blue Crow, which I said, I think is a mistake. Maybe they were worried about all the damage from RB letting Crow horse early, which is potentially true, but I feel like Lilius here is really my only answer to Basar, and without Lilius, Basar would just run me over.
Time for a counterattack.
So here's the S3. He does hit Lilius, so she's going to get pushed back, which is unfortunate because I wanted her to be able to cleanse the rest of my team. There is an Elbrus proc from Mort doing almost no damage. Emelulu pushes up his team. This is precarious for me because he did ban my Aureus Holder, potentially a reason why he banned the Blue Crow. And now his entire team is going to get to take a turn. Emelulu will go into Ruel. Luckily she's on Water's Origin, so I think that will save her here. And keep her pretty healthy. RB procs greater attack buff, rips into the whole team, does a lot of damage. And now Tempest Surin comes in with a Soul Burn. No buff on her though, thankfully. I debate about healing Last Rider Crow, but my Lilius will be able to cleanse him before he takes a turn. So I go ahead and I heal up my Ruel here. I need her to stay healthy so that she can res whoever dies. I use a skill 3 on Mort, which does heal him a bit. It has a heal built into it, so you can see he gets a 5.8k heal. That's nice. That's a good bonus. I use Lilius to cleanse all the debuffs from my team and push them back. And now I can use my Last Rider Crow to do damage and set up immunity on everyone. This will kill the RB though, and he gets another greater attack, this time with full focus. I'm lucky he burned the Tempest Surin. I think he was trying to finish me off, but if he had soul burned the RB here, then I think everyone on my team except Ruel would be dead. Mort gets another Elbrus proc and then uses his skill 2. So now my entire team has crit resist on them. And in this situation it's, I guess, okay. Basar is going to take a turn here. Oh no, Lulu's taking a turn, so it's providing value. And then Basar will go. Something I've noticed in my testing of Mort, I've played probably 15 or 20 games with him and lost nearly every single one, is that half the time you get these crit resist buffs, everyone on your team is taking a turn before the enemy does, so they just fall off and they don't do anything. And it kind of adds to the RNG element of his kit, not in a good way. Ideally you want him to Elbrus when the enemy attacks, and then he sets up crit resist on your people, and then somebody like RB goes and doesn't crit, and it saves you a ton of damage. Speaking of Arby, he gets the 3rd greater attack proc. So I think this is probably more a testament to me outgearing my opponent than anything. Eating 3 greater attacks from an Arby is not easy to do. I finished off the Basar. I could have gone for the Arby, but I wasn't sure if I would kill him. So Mort there did 4.5 to Arby, who is super squishy. I guess with Molas he would do probably another 20% damage.
Sure fortune will be on our side today as well.
Another frustrating thing with Mort is that into people that have immunity, like Last Rider Crow, he loses a lot of value since he doesn't put these defense breaks up. You know, he just goes into somebody with immunity and then nothing happens. But this match, Mort actually provided pretty good value here. He got crit resist buff up at a few really nice times. Here, for example,
This is just perfect.
Lulu uses her S3 on Ruel, and this Lulu does a lot of damage. You can see how much this does without a crit. So I think Ruel very well might have died there if that had crit. So Mort just saved Ruel's life, and now she can heal up. And Lulu would have had her barrier, and so she would have been able to, for sure, eat 1, maybe 2 attacks from Mort. Well, probably not 2 because the barrier would fall off here, but there's a potential that this Soul Burn S1 would have just killed Mort
I'm sure
right
fortune will
away.
be on our side today as well.
So I think this match he legitimately provided value.
We're done here. Take away the bodies.
Okay, so that'll, for the most part, wrap it up for the debut. I just wanted to show his stats one more time and kind of take away, you know, the key points to this, which is Mort is not a must-pull unit. I think he is very niche. I think the niches he can work in, at least for now, are this type of Ruel and Friends team where you need the particular skill set that he offers. So that would be you are drafting against an opponent who is potentially using units like Sageball who can sleep. It can be nice to have a unit who is not able to, you know, be slept or stunned. That's one nice thing that he brings. Another thing is that he can put up crit resist buff at some opportune times and severely mitigate incoming damage, but that is very RNG dependent. And that's why I think he shines in Ruel and Friends. Those matches are going to go really long, and so he can really give a lot of momentum to your team and help you stabilize if he's given the opportunity to proc that RNG. He feels in many ways kind of like a more defensive Charles, where Charles, when, you know, he procs his RNG deletes a unit, Mort prevents damage from coming into your team and then sets up another unit. So maybe a support role rather than defensive is a better way to put it. In terms of his build, I think this build is decent. I'm going to be interested in maybe trying a build where I build him a lot faster and more tanky and just ignore damage entirely since his multipliers aren't great anyways. I think that's definitely another way to consider using him. In that situation, you could really even forego the Aureus, or the Elbrus, and maybe use Aureus and just use him as an actual tank. And in that case, he could be kind of like, not like a flurry maybe in a way, in that he can def break, you know, a high value target on the enemy team like Ruel. If you build him at like 260 or something like that, he's not going to do it turn 1 like Flurry will, but you'll use his S3 and then he'll have Enrage and then he'll set up the def break the next turn. So it could be a potential way to use him that way. And since he's going to be turn cycling really fast, he might get off more of his passive procs. Although I guess without using Elbrus, he's never going to proc crit resist buff on people kind of at random times. But it's a thought. So that's another potential way to build him. Let me know in the comments below if you've found any success with Mort. I hope you have. If not, that'll be it for now. Later.